There we go. Well, hello everyone. My name is Hannah Hyde, and this is the first of a three-part series on the unified theory of ascension. For those of you that don't know me, I'm just kind of your average human being. I'm a therapist and a mom, and this information's come to me over the last few years from Spirit, and I've been told recently to share it with you all. Um, just to put a little context on time, we are March 21st, 2020, in about the second week of the coronavirus pandemic. And I think that part of the reason that the universe asked me to put out this information right now is because it's really important for this point in time when everyone's really struggling with how to connect with themselves and each other and the universe in these really uncertain times. So I'm hoping that this can just help a lot of you to do those things while all of this is going on. For anyone who's watching this in the future, please feel free to message me. There'll be links on how to do that below this video. If you have any questions or you just want to contact me, feel free. To everybody who's listening live, thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm now going to see if I am technologically advanced to share my PowerPoint. There we go. Look at that. Okay, please tell me in the comments if you are seeing this PowerPoint correctly. A yes will work. All right, Anne says yes. Good enough. Yay! Thank you, everyone. All right, so this is the unified theory of ascension. It's about how we build a new world, which is what I really believe this is instructions on how to do. All right, so these are just the basics. This was a model given to me, and these are the main points or tenets of this model. The first main idea is that there are 6 paths to ascension for humans, meaning that there are 6 different ways to move towards enlightenment, higher vibration, being more of who you want to be. I think the term ascension can be misinterpreted for a lot of people, but it can really be replaced with basically just becoming more of who you want to be spiritually. So hopefully we're not reading too much negative connotation into that word. The next tenet is that it's optimal for all 6 paths to have balance within each individual and also within each community or collective. So the idea is that if you're aware of what these 6 paths are, you can work to balance them within yourself and within the community. We all tend to focus on 1 to 2 paths, meaning that we, really think about things in one particular way, and we don't usually tend to veer off course into the other paths all that often as human beings. If these paths get too out of balance, meaning you're focusing on only one of them or 2 of them a lot and neglecting the other, our vibration lowers or we become out of sync, out of wavelength, we feel off, we feel disconnected. If the paths get too out of balance collectively, our collective vibration lowers, meaning you have trouble connecting with people, there might be more arguments, communication might get halted, a lot of negative effects there collectively. So those are the basics, and I know that might not make a ton of sense yet, but that's okay. We're going to fill it in a minute. All right. The next thing I just want to go over is the underlying beliefs and assumptions that I am coming from. And I want to spell this out because this isn't a theory that's going to work for everybody in the world. It will really only make sense to you and work for you if you agree with these things. And if you don't, that's totally okay. I'm not saying you need to believe what I believe, but just that this will work for you better if you believe these things. So I'm defining ascension as the intentional raising of your vibration in order to come to better understanding of spirituality, higher density or dimension, or a more fulfilling life. So basically that just means like you're working to understand things beyond yourself, beyond what is concretely in front of you, beyond what society presents you with, and you believe that in doing that, things will get better for you and for the rest of society. I also want to say that I believe ascension is a spiral path, meaning you have to work on things over and over again and cycle through your own inner shadows, inner demons, purging, trauma, rather than a clear-cut, do this and you will ascend, stepped process like there are in a lot of religions. I really believe so much of this is about your own inner work and not about having a clear-cut model on how to get there. Um, Also, um, for me, I believe that humans and the earth are currently in a process of raising our vibration, energy, or ascending to become a new type of being. This can be defined many ways, but some call it raising in density or dimension. Other people have a lot of other terms of it. But the main aspect of this change is moving from a solitary or isolated, egocentric experience to a more connected and collective and socially minded experience as a species. And there's a lot of different aspects to that, which we'll go into more fully in later parts of this. But in general, those are just tenets that if you believe that, this is going to work for you. If you don't, then it probably won't. Um, and then finally, each of us has a job or multiple jobs, I'm learning, or calling or part to play in this collective ascension that is unique and important. So it's all of these things are things that are my beliefs. And if you agree with those, this model, I think, could work really well for you. If you don't, then it might not. So that's that. Who is this model for? All right, I think this model is going to work best for individuals who aim to raise your internal vibration and ascend spiritually. That's one of your goals. You also aim to raise the vibration of the earth and create a collective human experience. You've chosen to experience collective existence whenever possible versus a singular experience. That's important to you. You have some understanding of your own spiritual gifts and a wish to share them with others. And you have a wish to continue learning from others and have an innate understanding that there is always more to learn. Both of those last two are really important in this model, both that you wish to share of yourself and teach, and also that you wish to learn from others and receive. Those are both really important. All right, so that's just the end of basically the underlying principles and hopefully where you're all coming from. Hopefully you resonated with a lot of what I was saying. So now I'm going to get into the actual model. So the first 5 paths of ascension on the unified theory of ascension are pretty concrete and understandable. They originally came to me without the elements attached, so they came to me as physical, intellectual, energetic, emotional, and metaphysical. Fairly recently, actually, I was told that those connect to the elements of the earth. So physical is earth energy, intellectual is air energy, energetic is fire energy, emotional is water energy, and metaphysical is ether energy, which some people also say is spirit energy. So those are the first 5 paths. The 6th path is interconnected, and that path becomes available when you have reached a certain point on all the other paths. And being interconnected is a change that we're seeking as a species. So the idea is that once you've come to awareness, at least on all those other paths, and put some work in internally, then we're able to connect with others at this higher level, which is actually what we're headed for as a species and desiring. If you're reading this, you most likely already have access to this path. You would know that if you consider yourself empathic. You would know that if you have an understanding of social systems and how our society is harming the marginalized with our current social systems. You would already have an idea of the interconnected ascension path if you are a teacher, if you care about others, if you're into volunteering. All of those things are proof that you already have an awareness of this interconnected path. All right, so now I'm going to go over just each of these paths individually and talk about what they are and what they encompass. So remembering that we all have all of these within us, but that most of us have specialized in one or two. So as I'm going through this, give some thought to what you do for each of these or don't do, how much you've worked on this or you haven't worked on this, if it's something you feel like you know enough about to share with others, or what maybe it's something that you want to learn more about and reach out for teaching on. So the first one is physical ascension, which is earth energy. I'm defining this as being aware of and in touch with your physical body and what it has to teach you and the rest of us. Teachers in this path may teach specific physical practice. For example, yoga, karate, there's a lot of examples of specific physical practices. Or they may use the physical body as a tool for gaining information or energy for teaching. Our good friend Lauren, who I don't think would mind me mentioning her name, for instance, actually channels information to give out to others through her physical body. So that's the example of that. Energy comes from the earth, and people who are highly ascended in this path are usually grounded and have strong connections with earth energy. Oh, and then practices, I already mentioned a few, but movement, yoga, martial arts, dance, also intuitive eating, body image acceptance, embodiment practices, breath work, and just physical mindfulness. And these are not exhaustive lists by any means. All right, so that's the physical. That's the one I am the lowest in, just an FYI for all of you out there, and I'm working on ascending purposefully very hard right now, but it's a hard one for me. All right, the next one is intellectual, which comes from air energy. So this is considering or having intellectual understanding of spiritual concepts, patterns, and information. Teachers in this path lean towards religion, philosophy, psychology. They impart information to others as aid for ascension. So this is your very, the classic intellectually ascended person is the philosopher who, understands very deep spiritual practices and concepts on a very intellectual level and loves to sit around and talk about them and teach others. Energy comes from the air and sky. People who are highly ascended in this path are usually flexible and tuned to changes and shifts in information and help keep things moving. I didn't write this, but I think they also frequently are the ones to question things, question themselves, question others, and make sure we're continuing to look at things from new angles. Practices in this path: study of philosophy, religion, psychology, sociology, history. They're having intellectual discussions, meeting of the minds around spiritual topics. They're doing deep intellectual analysis of self, Jungian work, and intellectual inner work. The next is energetic, which comes from fire energy. This is being in touch with and being able to manipulate the energetic field that connects us all in order to gain spiritual information and heal self and others. Teachers teach specific types of energy practices or perform energy work on others. This energy is fire energy. People highly ascended in this area are passionate, intense, driven, determined. Practices in this path, I think Reiki is the most commonly understood energetic practice, which I'm pretty sure most of you would be familiar with, the idea of channeling energy for healing. Polarity is another energetic practice. There are people who can energetically interface with technology. There's distance healing. There's spatial energetic clearing. And I'm sure this is, again, not at all an exhaustive list. There's many other ways to do this in the world. The next path is emotional, which comes from water energy. It's being deeply in touch with your own emotions and the emotions of others to gain insight and heal emotional trauma and pain. Teachers in this path are usually emotional healers, empaths, and teachers of self-help, self-care concepts, or therapists, which there are multiple of on this call alone. The energy comes from water, and people highly ascended in this area are usually fluid, big highs and lows. They feel deeply and strongly, not afraid to express their feelings, and sit with others as they do the same. Practices are emotional mindfulness, release work for emotional baggage around trauma, embracing vulnerability, interpersonal emotional discussion, radical emotional honesty, and empathic-based abilities. This one is a little less concrete than some of the rest of them, but is equally important. They're all equally important. The last is metaphysical, which comes from the ether or spirit energy. This is, what if you wanted to put the cheesy title on it would be considered new agey type things. So being in touch with otherworldly concepts, spirit's connection with spirit, with the universe, with God or goddess, depending on how you define it, to gain and share information and raise the collective vibration. Teachers in this path practice and teach intuitive arts, to gain and give others information. This energy comes from ether or spirit or the universe or God, whatever you want to call it again, which is beyond Earth and humanity. People highly ascended in this area can appear disconnected from normal reality or spacey at times. They are, in fact, however, deeply connected to other dimensions, the universe, or spirit, as individually defined, meaning God, goddess, universe, spirit, whatever, however you define that. Practices in this path: prayer, manifestation, intuitive practices, which include tarot, fortune telling, etc., mediumship, nature communication, witchcraft, artificing, seeing auras, channeling, communication with Hebs are highly evolved beings, other entities, etc. All right, so those are the 5 main paths. Just as a reminder, no one's asking any questions or making any comments in the chat. Feel free to do so as you go along. So those are the 5 that we all are born with the ability to find within ourselves and work on. We all have those 5 paths within us from the moment we incarnate in this earth, in these bodies. And working on each of those paths is something that, if you do it within yourself, are conscious of those paths, can bring balance to your life, your energy, your vibration, your consciousness. When all of those paths are combined and in balance, then internally you get in touch with the interconnected path. And that then connects you to all the other humans in this collective consciousness, which is what we are aiming for. So being in touch with your place within the collective, it lets you know about the changes and shifts that are happening with humanity on Earth. It gives you an understanding and helps you work to form new ways of functioning as a society. And also, if you're on this path, you're working with others to enact these changes. Teachers or highly ascended people in this path work with others to create changes in social justice, advocacy, social systems, and group dynamics. This energy comes from collective human experience or collective consciousness. Basically, it's the energy that all of us on Earth are putting out together. It can be best accessed when all the other paths or energies are melding in harmony. Those highly ascended in this path are usually natural leaders, strong charisma and people skills. They usually have big ideas and push for radical social change, because I think we're all in agreement that there needs to be radical social change. Practices in this path: understanding a new world social dynamics, running discussions or meetings with other spiritual people, group spiritual practice, social activism, and even politics. I don't think that personally there are that many people highly ascended in this intercollective way in politics currently, but I think there certainly could be, and I think there are a few. And I think that eventually hopefully will be more. So I put it on there in hope that this will be true at some point in time in our history. So those are the basics. Now you're asking, none of those sound exactly like me. Am I supposed to fit into one path? No, of course not. As I said, we all have all 5 of these, and now 6 of these within us. And the goal, in a lot of ways, is to actually be working on all of them at different points in time, or all at once if you're feeling very multitasky in the day. So there's combinations of paths. Most people tend to focus naturally or have a higher ascendance for 1 or 2 paths, although some people work on more than that at once. But it is common for people to have 2 or 3 paths that are highly ascended to form a new practice that requires a high ascendance level in multiple areas. A really good concrete example of this is creative endeavors, such as writing, art, music. The reason for that is that creating a beautiful piece of art, creating a new symphony, creating a beautiful new novel with spiritual concepts really draws on multiple of these paths. So it really draws on the energetic or fire energy, which creates the passion and drive to create. It takes the emotional water energy, to outpour emotion into that work that then other people can interpret and find validating and beautiful. And then it takes intellectual and air energy just to understand the concepts and practices. You know, if you're creating a beautiful watercolor piece, you need to know how to use watercolors, right? And that comes in the intellectual. So that's just a good example of how you can combine these paths um, for different practices. But there's as many combinations as possible within this, and each of you is using a different much of each of these to do different things in your lives. All right, so those are the basics. So I don't have any questions yet, but it would be great if I got a few so that I could answer them. The one thing that I'm wondering, if no one has questions, is if anyone wants to write down if they just have any comments or thoughts. Maybe if you feel like something doesn't resonate with you, what that is, or if you are thinking maybe that you are particularly you've moved a long way around one path but not another, and you just want to share and talk about that, that would be great. I'm going to pause sharing my PowerPoint, and I'm going to stop recording so